It's the Redirect Podcast, search industry research, discussion, and analysis from the Black Truck Media and Marketing Headquarters. And now, redirecting you to the Black Truck team.
Welcome to episode 33 of the Redirect Podcast. It is Friday, February 9th, 2018. I'm Jason Dodge, founder of Black Truck Media and Marketing. Welcome this week by an entire crew, Ashley, Patrick, and Adrian from the Black Truck team. Welcome, gang, to another week.
Hello.
It's Friday. There's a lot happening in the world of search, in the world of social, and I tried to put search and social together. I'm going to ask people to fast forward out of the wintertime months and look ahead to July. There's a lot that's going to be going on.
Why would we want to do that? It's such a beautiful time here in
you
Michigan.
know, I mean, we have snow on the ground, but the big deal is that we know there's a major Google update coming with the announcement of their speed update that's going to happen. So how the actual load times and performance of your site is going to impact it from a search perspective. But they also noted that this week that sites that have not migrated to HTTPS are going to be marked as not secure. I know Search Engine Land had a good piece on that this week, and it coincides with the release of Chrome 68. So again, reminder: this is a Chrome browser call out. This isn't a Google algorithm call out. This is a Chrome browser. So it'll be called out in the address bar. I know that we've also seen that there were potential where it would be displayed in SERPs too. But most likely, a user is going to care more that if it were to display in the SERPs than in the address bar. I would wager to bet that there's a very large audience and population that doesn't pay any attention to their address bar and wouldn't know whether or not a site is secure.
Well, that's how the Prince of Nigeria gets all of his money.
Absolutely.
So I read that article too, and what I walked away from it, maybe I didn't read it as in depth or skimmed over too much, but what I took away is how is that different than the warning that's currently out there?
It's not so the warning and the signals and the chatter has happened. It's just Google's officially said in July,
right?
With Chrome, with the new version of Chrome, that's when we're going to make the cut. That's what they've said.
Got it.
So it hasn't been up until recently this week that there's been an official.
What is it? So there's been
announcement
unofficial.
It's been chatter that the push has been since this summer that.
Yeah, because previously there were announcements of like October. So
I guess maybe refine that question is, I've already seen the warning in the address bar.
Right.
It already exists.
Right.
So what's the difference?
That's I think a really great question, and I would encourage you to find out.
Hey Google.
No, I mean the push has been made for not just since this summer, but probably for the past 2 years.
Right.
And hinting at like small ranking boosts, so hopefully they're trying to incentivize this whole shift. So what they were saying, what Google said in their blog post is over 68% of Chrome traffic on both Android and Windows is now protected. 78% of traffic on Chrome OS and Mac is now protected, and 81 of the top 100 sites are using an HTTPS by default. So obviously the migration from an HTTP to an HTTPS can be a bit lengthy depending on the size of the site. And there's certainly do's and don'ts and things you want to follow. But Ashley, did I totally take your topic?
yeah, that's fine because I was gonna let you talk about it too when it came up. But I was curious too. I as I was reading this news, I was curious about. Not everybody uses Chrome. There are a lot of Firefox fans and people who are stuck on Microsoft Edge and.
I'm sorry. Did you what? Microsoft?
Formerly known as Internet Explorer. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
VE, formerly known as.
Nice. Rest in peace.
So as I was reading this news, my mind naturally went to, well, how many people actually use Chrome? I'm just curious, and I was going to throw that stat out
85%.
Here. No.
Damn.
So, actually, in the Search Engine Journal article that discussed this news, there was a breakdown of, I think he did 12 different countries. So actually Chrome use in like South America is really high, and Israel and Spain is really high, like above 60%. The US is at 42.6% right now, which is still huge. And the article does say it's about, let's see, I think it said 50% worldwide, like throughout the whole world, like about 50%.
What falls behind that? Safari?
Actually, let's see, just
Chrome, Safari, then Firefox, according to W3 Counter, which we've pulled stats before. So it's Chrome, Safari, Firefox, IE, Edge, and then Opera still comes in there. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of people might hear this news and think, well, not, who really uses Chrome? I don't use Chrome. Well, 50% worldwide use
Totally.
Chrome.
Yeah,
So
1 out of 2 people is a pretty big deal.
yeah.
Well, and of course the breakdown too. We don't get the breakdown. Notice that search engine land's somewhat biased to the mobile market, but you don't get the breakdown of is that mobile versus desktop users either. And W3 doesn't point that out either. I would be curious to know of desktop users, what's the browser breakdown versus what's the browser breakdown by phone. I mean, we know that Android has a good chunk of the market share because you're either iOS or Android.
Right.
So it's obvious that Chrome and Safari should be battling it out.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, if you're not thinking about the migration to HTTPS, that's a problem. You have a little bit of time, but certainly would want to go through that
It's alright,
process.
I'm sure Microsoft Edge still has you covered.
Totally do. Yes.
Sounds like about those government contracts where all the government employees have to use all those products, Microsoft 360 or whatever it is.
Blackberries,
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
Hey, don't count the BlackBerry out just yet.
You still have yours?
Well, I mean, I have one. Not I don't use it, but they're also big in the market of like autonomous cars and other types of
Isn't everybody?
things like boats and such. We were at the
knows
auto
boats?
show.
All right.
I'm going to need you to show me the data on that later.
I mean, I have a picture of it if that helps. I know how much you like pictures.
Yeah, I do look at a lot of pictures. Hey, while we're talking about
Pictures?
yes, updates from Google, something that they finally have publicly come out and said that's important to them, the favicon.
Oh yeah, I just saw something about that.
Yeah, I've always obsessed over favicons. It's that little tiny image picture of your logo that's in the tab.
It makes your site look nice and polished.
Yeah, as Ashley and I live and die by the tab count, the high tab count in our browser.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get anything done.
That favicon saves me quite a bit. You're in trouble if the favicon gets covered. You have so many tabs open.
Or it's a generic one. You don't know what you're looking at, what you have in your collection of tabs.
So
these are real problems.
these are legit.
These are first world problems.
These are definitely
Really.
first world
Never
problems
mind
here.
what browser you're using. Let's
Yeah.
talk about how
Truly.
many
Yeah.
tabs you're using.
So Google has started to, via Search Console, send out warnings to site owners and webmasters that they're not utilizing a high-res favicon file. That's at least 192 by 192.
Interesting.
And they are stating that I tried researching this, but it didn't make sense. In Chrome's new tab page, which I don't think is as simple as clicking a new tab, because it shows previous used pages rather than previous used favicons. Anyways, a good favicon can increase a click-through rate by up to 2 times in Chrome's new tab page and in Android home screen. I'm not an Android user, so I don't know what that looks like, but when you open a new tab on your Android browser, you get favicons, and if it's not a quality favicon, it's going to potentially miss opportunity for click-through rates.
Well, also, when you can save on Android, you can save a web page to your home screen or one of the 5 screens or whatever, and it will show up. It pulls that thing.
Nice. And if it's just your basic WordPress graphic, you can't
or
tell what it
sometimes
is.
it's just like the letters of the blog, like BH or whatever it would be.
Right.
So.
Right.
Ashley's got a great example. Maybe we'll do a screenshot of that to share. But really,
what is
it's
that?
if you just open if you open a new blank tab in Chrome, you're going to see maybe it's recent or your favorite websites that you visited. So and I don't have it either on mine. So
it'll
it could
throw
be
your apps in there too.
Yeah, it could be a setting.
And gonna have to have a conversation with Ashley afterwards to see what that's all about. Another thing I want to discuss that I thought was the favicon node is kind of just a little bonus material there. Something I want to discuss that I don't really. I'm not in India, and I understand commerce is probably different in the country of India, but they their competition commission just fined Google $21 million for favoring their own flight search and search results pages.
Are we headed down the road of them getting penalized for their PLAs in Europe too? I mean, is this the same thing?
It's kind of the same thing. I just don't understand. I mean, it's a business, and your goal is to make money, and people are using your search engine, which is a business. Something we've talked about a lot here in this office and during the podcast is Google is a business, and their goal is to get you to stay on their website because that's how they earn money. You're, as a user, when you go to google.com and then you do a search for something, and if it happens to be flight data, and you're asking for the best results or any results, and if Google is displaying that data right there in front of you, if it's flights, if it's restaurants, if it's how-tos, that's commerce and that's business. You know, Google's doing you a favor by showing you your work, and that's why the SEO industry is out there in order to try to beat that. And granted, it's their own inside scoop, and they're using their own tools, and but a $21 billion fine works out to 5% of revenue in the country of India from the year 2013 to 2015. So that's 5% of revenue is still 5% of revenue, but I can't say I agree with it. And again, different countries, different rules.
You don't agree with the ruling, or you don't agree with Google doing what they did?
I don't agree with the ruling. I do not agree with the ruling because that's commerce, and that's the way businesses thrive.
Well, I guess the counterpoint to that is then how do those businesses compete if Google is where people search?
Yeah. So if I'm running, for case in point, if I'm running paid search ads,
right?
I'm a travel company or I'm an airline, and I'm running ads because there's some pretty key players as the backbone of advertisers in Google, right? And we can blame the Travelocities and the Kayaks and the Trivagos of the world. That if I can't get my name even in the consideration phase because it's all Google travel products, I'm probably going to get pretty pissed about it.
Yeah, and it's also a play-to-pay market, though. Too.
That's not a fair play, though, because it's not. So if I continue to favor your ads over the other three on this podcast, eventually the hammer's going to fall and somebody's going to get upset because that in essence goes against the algorithm. That goes against everything you know about AdWords and bidding. Imagine if you were running, to play devil's advocate, if you were running and one of our clients' campaigns and you were just coming up against the wall and you either couldn't get the positions that you thought that you needed, or so your impression share was low because of competition. It had nothing to do with the budget you were spending, the quality score, or anything, but you constantly hit this wall of like, why the hell am I not getting those positions? And then come to find out it's because Google's favoring their own products over it. I would probably be a little pissed too.
I would too. I would keep working hard to try to combat though, and try all the different tools in my toolbox
for sure
in order to try to get that being on-page content, all the tricks of the trade, everything that we have. I would go after that and do the best we can. In full disclosure, I've got a flight to the west this summer, and a couple nights ago I was searching for flights, and I used my laptop, an iPad, and an iPhone. And I found the most user-friendly tool out there was the Google Flight tool. And it's cake. It shows the account. It's right there.
Who doesn't lose in this equation either way are the airlines.
The airlines. Yeah.
Well, quite frankly,
right?
two
so
people
it's the third parties.
The airlines don't lose. The airlines don't lose, and the user doesn't lose either.
No.
So to your point, doesn't matter the device. You had a great experience with Google. You're going to continue to use it. Airline, I'm getting a kick. Don't care. Yeah, I'm going to continue to do my flight feed.
If these third parties were just a little, I don't know, a little smarter about it. Instead, I think like this is a one-time fix and maybe like a one-time fine and then maybe a fix. I mean, I don't know. Google has all of the money, so I feel like paying that kind of fine isn't a big deal to them. But I feel like if I'm like Travelocity or whatever, I'm looking real quick to find a partnership with Google where I can help them.
I want to be the data feed.
With the interface,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then also the user experience and also the data.
And I think they are. I think somewhere along the line I saw a little thing in the corner that said data from kayak.com.
Yeah.
You know, so it is. There's partnerships are already out there.
Yeah.
You know, this is going to sound kind of crass, but at the end of the day, I relate it to this is what you get when you give all the kids trophies, not just the winners.
Well, I don't know. If you're Funny or Die, you might go off and get pissed at Facebook right now. But we won't talk about that right now.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like a productive way of looking at it, but when you were saying that you didn't agree with the ruling, it kind of made me think of like, I think as users, we have a tendency to view Google or other search engines as like a public service, which it is, but then you go back to, you know, it is a business. And they are.
That's great. That's a really great point to
Yeah.
put it. So I agree with you there. Is that their business? They're not a nonprofit. They're here to make money. Case in point, the user does not care. I'll always say it like, if it costs you, the advertiser, a couple bucks, $20, if the user's happy and they got what they want out of it, life is good
Yeah,
in
I mean,
everybody's
it's
eyes.
just stakeholder and shareholder performance. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what matters, right? The user plus whoever profits from it, which is people that own shares.
Totally, which is not me.
As a user, if I'm not enjoying the experience, I'm going to go to another tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if Google keeps providing me with the information I need, and there's no reason for me to move on.
And I think that's regardless of you being an internet marketer too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think that's just good usability. So yeah.
So this is sort of a leap, but let's talk about user experience a little bit, but in the way of advertising, right? So giving people what they need, also what they want. And so I have been doing a lot of writing for copy and analysis the last couple weeks. And while I'm not necessarily, I mean, I'm public relations by trade really, and content kind of falls under that, but I've been doing a lot of copywriting in the last few weeks and having like those refreshers and doing a lot of reading in that space. And so I've been looking a lot at how do you turn consumer issues into consumer content. And that's something we've talked about before, but you know, going through the gamut of not just blog copy, not just web copy, but also ad copy. And so how do you turn I mean, we already know that finding your audience is like half the battle, because after you find them, you have to give them something that they need or want to convert them. But instead of just looking at demographics for this, which commonly we do by sorting, right? We sort people into buckets basically based on who they are. What I've been looking at more are the psychographics, which is the ultimate transformation of a customer from someplace else to you is changing their attitudes, beliefs, interests, feelings, behaviors, and attitudes. I mean, that's like the goal of any campaign of any kind, really. But the ultimate goal is to make change with the person, right, in their psychographics, so actually changing them. And in doing so, or in trying to do that rather, you have all sorts of opportunities to actually make that happen. And so I've been reading a lot about where to find this kind of data in order to try to find new ways to write copy so that it's interesting to them. And so I sort of have been trolling some different areas, like even Reddits and subreddits and online groups, social groups, reading blog comments of competitors, reading blog comments of much bigger blogs.
Oh, there's golden comments.
I mean, it's
Do you feel dirty?
amazing.
Do you feel dirty
I mean,
now?
I kind of always feel dirty, but you know, using listening tools as a method of not just feedback, but actually to create something better than it started out as, which many companies don't do because I think they already think they're okay and that they don't need to change. And so this is sort of an attitude adjustment, I think, for some companies to look at. Is it's one thing to listen to social media or listen to blog comments or whatever. It's another thing to really take it and make it into something.
Actually do something about
Right.
it.
So, and I don't just mean like problems. I mean, I'm hoping people are fixing problems, but also just need, right? Like, what are your customers actually asking for, and how can you actually give it to them? And so, Some of this is like primary research based, like interviews or focus groups and things of that nature, enter exit surveys for some other primary data, but I don't think that everybody really has the budget for that. So it's so beautiful that you can look now at like reviews.
Yeah.
You can ask for reviews. You can, for no money at all, you can like send out a SurveyMonkey with a couple of questions post interaction. If we're working on a project based client, and at the end of our project we want to know what we could have done better from a customer experience standpoint, then we should send something out and have them reply. And then the ultimate compliment really is to adjust based on good data. People are always going to have an opinion, and so you have to have a brain about this, right? Where you're sorting through the data to find actionable areas that are not just somebody was unhappy. People are going to be unhappy about.
And especially on the internet. People are going to be much more forward about their bad experience than their good experience.
Absolutely. So finding time to respond to online reviews, and then using the responses to create either ad copy or content for blogging, or to help fix something on their website that I find a lot of new pros and people that are sort of corporate guys or gals that have been in the company for a long time, you lose a little bit of perspective in that space because it's always been that way kind of mentality. And so as a young person, you're basing all of your experiences on your experience, which is not a lot, right? As an older pro, you're looking at the experience that you've had within the space that you are, and that rarely changes. But the consumer might be first-time user, first-time buyer, first-time exposure, and that's a completely different experience. And so trying to, collect and frame testimonials of current clients, first-time clients, long-time clients, just using all of the information that we should be getting anyway, honestly, about products and things and experiences to make it something else. So, using testimonials as ads, that's a pretty common like television tactic and radio, frankly, but using it for online is something I think that companies could do a little bit better at.
I've seen some really good advertisements that are negative reviews.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, Alta Ski Area did that, or Snowbird. I can't remember which one it is, but it was like basically the statement was like the runs are too hard, which they're known for that. They're known for like steep and deep runs, and it was like Jerry gave them a 1-star review, and they blasted that and used it in all of their ads.
Right.
And it's phenomenal.
Right, because there's a market for that, right? Just
totally
like anything else. And you have to determine, frankly, you don't want people to come to your the run if it's not something that's going to be good for them either, right? So, like, if that's what they are, then by broadcasting that's what they are, then you keep away the people that would be disappointed.
So I think these are great.
And that's still creating a good customer experience.
Yeah, no,
by avoidance.
I am curious though. These are really a lot of these are like could be for us maybe as outsiders when we're dealing with a lot of different brands that we do. A lot of these things are like fundamental type things. But,
I know.
And I think there's additional conversation and maybe a blog post or something that comes out of this. But the question that I have is that's great, but how do I sell my boss on those changes? How do all those ideas are great. I appreciate it, consultant. However,
right. Well,
how are we're going to make those changes? How are we going to measure it? What's it going to do for me?
So if you look at just fundamentals of advertising, and if you're looking at like clicks or whatever, pay-per-click or Facebook ad or whatever we're looking at, literally it's going to be the same fundamental theory for a print ad as it is for something that's online in terms of copy, right? And so if you're looking at, I don't think, or rather, it would be rather silly for somebody to say to someone that brought them an idea from this information we've been talking about, to say that it would be better to not solve a customer's problem or to not solve a customer. So I would feel like instead of maybe going with the positive sense of that, which is we need to use blog comments or we need to use reviews as advertising, I think you go in with the negative persuasion and you say it would be crazy for us to not do this in order to create this experience for our customer. I think sometimes it's really easy, especially for traditional sort of marketers and traditional advertising people, to get caught up in we know best, right? We know what's best for them. You know, we've been watching the sales figures, or we've been watching whatever, which, I mean, we know is bullshit. So I think like being able to say, you know, we're just we're centered differently now because there's so much competition between brands and so many things. I mean, we're like airlines and what you were just talking about. I mean, there's not one place anymore, so you don't have a monopoly.
I think it's the same thing too. Run into the issue a couple times where we'll, especially in paid search world, where we'll run a campaign and we're basically instructed to send them to what I call a squeeze page. Well, that doesn't set a good user experience because I don't get to learn about your brand. How do I know that you're at that point in your in the decision funnel? Not to go after the whole funnel thing, but how do I know am I top or bottom of the funnel? Do I know your brand? Do I not? And I think those comments, mining forums and things like that help showcase that problem.
So it's
too.
like anything else. I mean, you have to, in order to understand the customer and to appease them or to help them or to make them a fan or friend or user or whatever, you have to make sure that you understand them. And the ultimate demonstration of that is then to speak their language back to them, right? Is to reframe their comments precisely what's being told, and then having that as ad copy. So there was a pretty good example of this I saw just recently where somebody wrote a review that's like Best Buy sucks less than wherever they bought this online, and so then for a hot second. The reverse company wrote, you know, we might suck more than Best Buy, but we still we'll have more of your things in stock, and it will take less time for you to talk to us. And they gave like a list of they were happy to suck more on that one particular area. Like I think it was cost, right? We're happy to be a little bit more expensive if that means we're going to give you the experience that you want, the service that you need, and we're here, longer hours than them or whatever. So they flipped it on its head, kind of, which I thought was quite smart. But then the other idea is, to get back to pitching it to your boss or whatever, is sort of this idea of in customer service called matching, and it's where if someone comes at you on the phone real hot and heavy, like super pissed off, then you match their anger and then you just use it to kind of bring them back down to like a normal volume or normal level. And I do this all the time I just did it on the phone the other day. Someone kind of came at me with some sass, and so I matched her and brought her back.
No, I'm not confused.
Not a client, by the way.
No, it's not a client. It's actually a professional organization, which is even worse, honestly.
I was out that day.
Yeah.
I was in and I was listening.
They're supposed to be my advocate, and I had to remind them of that. So, but like really trying to figure out that, using that similar language and the similar type of emotion and feeling as your intended client or your target is really important. But also other ways that you turn psychographics into ad copy are to show life improvement. I mean, we're always seeking pleasure to try to avoid pain, pointing out and solving worries and fears, addressing pain points. I mean, I kind of think that's the new engagement, buzzword bingo. I hate the words together, pain point. I think that sounds so cliche.
But it's no different than what at least here that we've been focused on from a search perspective is when you're not developing SEO strategies for the robot. You're developing SEO strategies for the people that are using the robot, and a lot of people are searching for a pain point or a problem.
I'm just saying I have an issue with the phrasing. I think it's
trigger warning.
Definitely a trigger word. Yeah, roadblock is my second word here. I see you reading my notes, Patrick.
Actually, I didn't. I can't read your handwriting. I actually just thought of that on my notes.
Usually people really think I have good handwriting.
I have horrible handwriting.
But fulfilling a need at the end is assuming that you know their needs, and if you don't know their needs, then how can you actually fulfill them? And that's the whole purpose, really, of advertising.
I think, and I think that ties in really well to something that Ashley brought up on episode 32. So the last episode was on some what might appear to be some basics in content strategy. So making sure you understand the what and the why of my content. So who's going to be there? Am I fulfilling their need? Does it answer all of their questions? if you answer no to 2 out of 3 of those, you really should be revisiting that content.
I think people try to do too much with one blog post.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could have a multitude of different audiences or personas or whatever your favorite way to describe them is, the different target audiences, but you don't have to reach all of them in every post.
Right.
That's like not possible and kind of insane, actually, because then you just have sort of this uncentered smattering of just words on a page instead of being very specific. And I just don't think customers are asking brands to bend to just the individual person either. I don't think that that's something that, I don't expect Meyer or Coke or whoever to, think of just only Adrian.
I don't know. I feel like personalization has been another buzzword.
I feel like that's because millennials. So I think
millennials.
that's just one market, right? That's one target audience. But anything over 25 or whatever, I don't think expects to be a special segment of their own. I think also who's changing that is Gen Z, which doesn't require kind of that much maintenance. I know that sounds sort of negative,
and they're coming into that more
in
discretionary income too.
Right. So I think the alignment is more important than the specialization. So aligning with values of a company. So the opposite, right? People choosing the right company, not the company catering to the individual. So you have to do a little more research for that. It's a little more effort.
I think it's really good though. You really need to understand your audience.
Pepsi just caught a lot of flack for their Super Bowl commercial.
So did Dodge, right? With the Ram, with the Ram trucks.
Yeah, Dodge missed the mark on misproper use of.
They use an MLK speech.
Yeah, to sell a truck. And Pepsi came out and did that whole, oh, you're old, you drink Pepsi, I'm young, I drink Pepsi, that means we're the same. But they repeated the whole thing in the rehash old content.
Not to play ad pundit, but Diet Coke did the same thing. I mean, the new Coke can and the design those are absolutely terrible ads. So I think the problem you have there is it's a mind shift of soda pop companies going, what the hell do we do in this dying market?
Right, but I would say that still misses the mark because you're not providing a solution for a need.
Right.
You're just trying to give a new product and hope that someone buys it.
Oh, what are you talking about? Coke has a solution. They bought Dasani water.
That is the wrong way to go about that. I mean, just because you produce a product doesn't mean that you're satisfying a need.
Right.
It means you're producing a product.
This is true. So can rum and Coke and life will be good.
Yeah, also the Diet Coke Fierce Cherry is not fierce, nor does it taste like cherry.
I thought it's feisty, isn't it?
Whatever.
Feisty
It's
cherry?
terrible. Yeah, it's not any of those things.
So moving on. Can I switch complete gears on you?
I don't know.
Guys?
I'm still really disappointed about that Diet Coke.
I want to talk to you about improving AdWords conversion rates with call tracking, right? So, it does. I don't think it really matters if you're a brand that focuses in a B2C market or a B2B market. If you have a product or service that requires an additional conversation, it's a longer process, or I'm selling something that's a little bit more intimate, like a home service or something like that. I don't know if I really want to rely on your time to respond to me, and I want a direct answer. I want to talk to someone. So I think the question is, okay, A, why are you not prompting people to reach out via phone? But then if you are, how are you tracking it? Mm-hmm. And in previous blog posts, and I think we've touched on it a little bit in the redirect, there's various types of ad extensions that we employ in a paid search world that are available primarily in Google AdWords. Bing has them as well. One of the most often overlooked one is call tracking. And call tracking is fairly simple to set up. Just add a phone number in that you want people to call. Google, you can prompt it, say yes, go ahead and auto forward the call, and voila. Now, that said, you're tracking calls inside of the AdWords campaign right now, meaning you do a search for something, the ad pops up, it's that phone number there. If you do a click to call or you dial that number, that's trackable, it's forwarded from Google. That's not the brand's actual number. That's the forwarded number. So, but that's usually, if people even get to that step in their campaigns and setting that up, that's usually where they stop. And conversions look good. We're getting calls from ads. This is great. But they don't take it a step further and go to the site itself. Meaning you can also step it up a notch and say, well, I also would like to track those calls that happen on the site. And I'm not talking about services like CallRail and hosted numbers and things like that. Those services exist and they allow you to forward the numbers from landing pages and things like that. And you can record calls and everything like that if that's something that you're interested in doing. From my perspective, I don't really care to record a call. I just want to know, did we land the call? Did we make the deal? So there's a simpler version that I say that's baked directly into AdWords, and it's in the conversion settings. You can set up a new conversion, select phone calls, and in there you can tell AdWords that you want to basically measure those calls that happen to phone number or phone numbers on your site. So whether that's an individual landing page, whether you have a singular phone number across the entire site that hopefully is like hanging out in your header, or it's the phone number on your contact page or something like that. So you can create one of those that tracks a single number across your entire site, or maybe you have multiple location landing pages or service type landing pages. You can track those all individually. You'd have to set them up individually. But the point that I'm making is that let's say you don't ever call the number that's in the ad, but you click through and you dial the number. Well, if you're not tracking that number, Google AdWords, your campaign never gets the proper attribution for it. So then all of a sudden you just keep plodding along at maybe this 4 or 6% conversion rate, when in all reality it could be like 15 or 20% conversion rate. But then take it a step further, depending on how long your window is on that conversion. Standard's like 30 days, but maybe you bump it out 45 or 60 if it's like a big purchase. Is what happens if the user views the ad or clicks through, comes to the page, but then leaves. But then 3 or 4 days later they come back. You can have it set up so that it will display them that same call forwarded number. So attribution still goes back to AdWords. Original, not to go down the whole attribution modeling discussion, because that's we could kill 40 minutes with that. But what it ends up doing is it gives some level of attribution back to that ad, because that's how they were introduced to your brand. So, if you're not doing call tracking and you have a service, maybe you're a car dealership, maybe you're a home services type company, things like that. If you're not at least taking advantage of just on that base level tracking in the ad, you're missing opportunity. If you're not tracking people that are calling on your site, that's a whole other opportunity. You could really see conversions jump up there. So I think WordStream did a really great post recently on this whole process, and we can link to it because they walk you through the whole how to segment it out, how to add it manually to your site and things like that. But in the end, what ends up happening is they have a great case study. Is that you go from 4 to 6 conversions a week to 50 or 60. Wow. So that's like 80% of the conversions were on-site phone calls for especially a service-based company. I don't want to fill a form out because if I want to get my carpets clean, I'm ready to go. I'm calling you. I made my decision.
If you're going through your day to fill out a form and have someone call you when they're ready, and the opposite is the business or the organization is there ready to answer your phone. You're maybe not. So having you be the person that initiates that behavior is always, I think, better. 100%
agree. If you get someone that is if they come to your site and they go to that level of, I'm going to call these people, that's way more serious, I think, than filling a form out. So why are you not tracking that as a conversion?
Well, I'm probably filling out a lot of forms, but I'm probably only making 1 or 2 calls.
That's a really great point. It's the same thing with live chat. If if I'm a landscape company and I hit March and I'm starting to ramp up service orders and things like that, and you're driving traffic there and you don't have a live chat in place, I think I think you're just missing the boat completely. And you don't, it doesn't take a huge like staff crew to make that happen. You could set a chat bot up if you needed to.
This is just another think of your audience, right? What is their day like? You're waiting for them.
Right.
But you have to come to them and meet them where they are when they are. So if you don't have the tools available that are convenient to the audience or to the target that you're looking at, then you're just not going to get the calls.
Agreed.
The business, or the emails, or any of the things.
I'm a firm believer that a lot of people are researching during the day when they're at work, and they are more likely to reach out through a forum, through a chat, or they might call on lunch or something like that. However you can make it easier, to your point, just remove the friction. Remove the friction to make the conversion happen easier.
Well, especially if it doesn't, if it's not a great investment, or if it's just a matter of a few clicks or an hour of time instead of like purchasing a whole thing. Like it just seems so inane to not do it.
Yep, absolutely. So enabling some calls from ads first and foremost, and then enabling the call tracking to happen on the site too. So
a lot of pushback I've heard about chat, activating chat from other business owners or employees is, okay, if we activate this chat system, who's going to operate it?
Yeah.
Or who's going to be the one to do it?
When is it manned, right?
Yeah, I have no problem with a chat not being active outside of business hours. I think it makes sense to turn it off. It all defaults to the contact form when you click on chat outside of business hours. But run a test. If these chat tools are so easy to install, run a test and say, okay, whoever okay, Bob, you do it for the first week. You're in charge of all the chats, and if one chat comes in that first week, Bob can handle that one chat.
Right. I do think people have kind of a
fear.
A big time fear.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to be overwhelmed with all of the chats, and I'm going to have to hire a person to do just chat. And I think that that's insane. I think that the level is grossly overestimated then in that space.
And it might vary from business category to business category
and how
size.
big it is.
Yep.
But it could also mean that if your competitor has a chat, and I'm frustrated with you, then I'm going to go down the road to your competitor as well, right?
I think this also speaks to how our workforce has to be kind of trained too, is to not just do a thing. Like, I think we're sort of getting away from a specialist kind of mentality to people that are able to have skill sets to do more than one thing. And that doesn't translate to every industry, of course, but for something like this, there's no reason that like the secretary can't handle, if she's answering the phone, she can probably do the chat, like the live customer service, or maybe she can even take over like the Facebook messages or the Facebook Messenger. I think that sometimes we get so like focused on what it is that we do. Like I am the social media person, but I don't know, maybe she could take a part of that and I could also help with this part. I could also help with writing, or I could also help, solve these other problems within the business. And if you know your employee's skill set, then, which I think a lot of people don't. I think that they know the job they were hired for. I don't think they necessarily know everything that they're able to do. Or that maybe they're interested. Maybe you want to go attend a quick workshop and get trained on something, and then that's an asset to my company. I think they sort of narrowly focus that, and that's really dangerous for a company if they want to be flexible and moldable.
Well, I think too, even with Black Truck, is though, primarily we're a search marketing firm, but we're much more than that in the sense that as SEOs, as search practitioners and content practitioners, we have to be more than that. We are much more psychologists of the web.
Blind to the fact that other things are, colliding with what it is that you do.
Correct.
To make business happen.
To your point earlier, Adrian, that, again, half the battle is getting you there, getting you to the site. We always have to be thinking about what's next. But that's in our best interest. It's in the best interest of the client or the brand. So you need to be thinking that way. So if you know that people are getting there and they're not converting, well, why aren't they converting? Is there a problem with the form? Are you not giving them enough information? The call to action isn't loud enough, or heaven forbid, put a live chat in.
Yeah, I think too, you have to just be of the mindset that you have to be able to be flexible and change quickly. In that space, because sometimes when you ask those questions, you get answers that you're not fond of. like maybe the page doesn't have the information they really want, but it's what your boss really loves, or so I keep going back to like, you have to know the target, you have to know your audience, and you have to write for them, not for whoever the leadership is on your team, or like you can't write for the president or the CEO of the company. They're not buying, they are the product, right? They aren't buying the product.
Yeah, and the audience doesn't want to hear about you talking about yourself.
No.
I mean, they really don't. That doesn't help. It doesn't help sell more product or sell more services.
Yeah, so having sort of a deafness in that space, I think, is really dangerous for companies if they're not considering what would be useful for their target, or if they think they are, but they're really not.
Yeah, and I think the big challenge and we've all run up against this with either various client handlings, the brands that we work with, the apprehension to change. And how do you get over that? And I think really the best approach is the holistic approach and trying to sell the whole thing, and you're doing all of the things.
Right.
And this is just one component of it. So imagine if you pulled out of these other channels, what would happen? Play into the strong point, play into the weak point, be able to sell it to everyone, and be able to be knowledgeable on it to make that change and say, let's not confuse people anymore. We know based on our research what they want. Let's provide them with that. If we're driving people there from paid channels, provide them with that opportunity to call, opportunity to chat.
And I understand the apprehension for every business. I get it, because what was probably right or fit the need even 6 months ago within that time frame could have changed depending on your market, your customer, and the economy, frankly. I mean, there's so much that happens, that you can't control, but being really receptive, I think. And the best clients that I've ever worked with have been the people that hear you out. Maybe they're skeptical, and at the end of the day, they have the ability to say, no, I'm not interested in that. But that are like, I don't know, like, let's try, maybe I'm not comfortable with this, but I understand, I see the value. I just don't know how that will work for us necessarily. Can you show me, or can we try it? And I really think that that's really brave of a business owner to put that out there, to really trust, a third party, service provider, or, an employee that has a really brave idea, or just something that's just not exactly what we're currently doing. And that's sort of, I think that speaks to growth of businesses and of people, really. And that's just a really big thing, to be able to do that. So.
And if you're in the digital space, it's measurable, right? To any degree.
Oh, yeah. I always love it when people are like, hey, what do you think about it? I'm like, I don't know. Let's try it. Like, we can say that now. Like, I don't know. I don't have precedent for that, and neither does your brand. But I see that this person is doing, or that person isn't, so let's see what happens with yours. And you can always change it. It's just the beauty of the digital space right now, is that if it isn't working, there's no reason to keep the billboard up on 131.
Nope.
You can always change it
Absolutely.
on digital.
You can pull it down. Redo it. Awesome. Good topics. Anybody have anything else? Should we end there? I think we're going to end there.
We're going to end there.
Yeah, we're going to end there. All right. Cool. Well, until next time, good luck.
This has been the Redirect Podcast. Check out the show notes at blacktruckmedia.com and add us on iTunes and Stitcher.